Hello guys, RDU here. Today I'm gonna review the new Masters system that Hearthstone has and the official format that it comes with, which is gonna replace Conquest finally! So, last year we were hard at work evolving Hearthstone Esports into a more sustainable, entertaining and accessible program. Today we are happy to reveal full details. Let's go. So, Hearthstone Masters qualifiers. That's gonna be the first entry tier of the competition, the qualifiers, which are open to all the eligible players who want to test their Hearthstone skills. Each week, during a Masters season, there will be 30 tournaments. So that means more than 3 per day. That's more than we used to have open cups. It's gonna be a lot of tournaments. Also, I saw people are gonna get like packs for playing, so it's pretty cool as like a first-time experience. So I think those are gonna be very accessible if you're a really good player, or like even a good player, or even like a decent player. You can probably play enough of those, depending on how much time you have, and actually qualify for like one of the bigger tournaments, the Master events. Like, I think it's like a very good opportunity for like players to qualify. I'll get into some of the downsides a little bit later, but it's good news for people that wanted to like qualify without having to spend that much time. So I will do like a full evaluation at the end. Right now, what I can tell you is I cannot play in the Master qualifiers myself because I was part of a group that discussed with Blizzard some aspects of the Masters qualifiers, and as a reward, I was invited to the first Masters tournament without having to play the qualifiers. But I'll definitely like scout the metagame because I want to see like how people perform in those tournaments and what decks are really good there, to get some ideas for like when I'm gonna play the tournament myself in Las Vegas. That tournament is gonna basically replace playoffs and is like a much bigger tournament than playoffs because it includes all 4 regions clashing in one big tournament. It's gonna be like super crazy and like basically a dream hack on steroids, and like should be super fun to play, especially with like the bigger prize pool that's gonna be crowdfunded, but we will talk about that a little later. So they also have people qualifying through ladder. So eligible players who end the month in the top 200 will be invited to participate in a ranked ladder qualifier. Each ranked ladder qualifier follows the same rules of an open entry master qualifier, except the top 4 finishes will earn a spot in the Masters 2 event. So on top of being able to play like 3 or 4 tournaments every single day, in which you have to like only win one, you can also qualify for making top 200 on ladder, which is very doable, and then getting top 4 in that tournament, which is less doable. But basically, if you're like a full-time player, or like, no, you don't even need to be a full-time player. You need to be like part-time player. You can basically like get top 200 while you play those open cups. And if you don't do well in those open cups, you also can play in addition to that 1 tournament per month, where you only need to get top 4 in a 200-player tournament, where like these tournaments are like 220 players. You need to like win it. So you have a lot of opportunities. I think if you're like a really good player, you'll make it. And the bigger issue, I think, with this is paying for your travel. If you're from Europe, you have to travel to Las Vegas, and that's not cheap. For example, I don't see that many people from Romania qualifying and then like paying for their own travel up front to like just go to like Las Vegas and play a tournament for like 2 days there without anything guaranteed in prize pool. So that I can see as an issue. This year they have 3 tournaments. One of them is going to be in Europe. So people that live in Europe can go to the European one. People that live in America can go to the American one. And those who can afford could just go to like all the tournaments. But I think the biggest issue is going to be like traveling. I wish we were living in like an age where you could just like teleport yourself for like super cheap. Because it sucks that people cannot enjoy the full aspects of like Hearthstone Esports or like esports in general, or like life in general, because like travel is still pretty expensive. Like if I was a starting pro player, I probably couldn't afford like traveling to Las Vegas to play a tournament. So that's one of the aspects. But again, it's perfect for those that have some disposable income or have some income and like qualify to these tournaments. It can give them like a not once in a lifetime experience, but like a very unique experience. I feel like playing big lands with stacked fields like dream hacks were like the best experiences I ever had as a player. Now imagine 300, like twice as more players as a DreamHack, each qualified there to be there, and all on the same location. Like my biggest issue with playoffs was that we were all playing from like different locations, and that location was like not really a tournament area, it was more like a bar. This is like a tournament area that we're gonna have for like 350, 400 players, like whatever. It's gonna be like a lot of players. It's gonna be like super big and like sick. So that's like super interesting. So yeah, I'm pretty hyped myself, obviously, because I'm gonna participate in those. But I can obviously understand why some people are not hyped, because it's hard for them to participate. But at the same time, it's still like more tournaments than last year, because last year you had playoffs 3 times per year and that was it. Here you have like these 3 times per year, but they might also have some extra things to do. Like you can qualify for like the Grandmasters thing, and then maybe like you have some extra things to do. Other than that, let's talk about the Specialist format. Specialist format is like what they're gonna use instead of Conquest. I feel like if you look at it, it's a bit too simple. I think they could have made it a bit more complicated. I like best of 3, maybe like more than best of 5 if we have more rounds. Like I wish those tournaments would have like a lot of rounds, because that kind of reduces variance. Like let's say I would rather play 20 best of 3s than play 9 best of 5s, let's say. I think the difference between a best of 3 and best of 5 is not that high. For example, we realized best of 7 was giving the better player a lower win rate than a best of 5 would. I'm not saying best of 3 gives you a better win rate if you're a better player, but I don't think the win rate's changed that much between being like the better player. And as the format, one deck I feel can work in Hearthstone, it also emulates the ladder system better. You have to also think from Blizzard's perspective. How are they going to make a tournament format while you cannot leave the challenge? Like a lot of people are complaining that the sideboard, because that's what it is, it's basically a sideboarding format with like 5 cards difference for the other 2 decks that are not your main deck. The thing is, it's hard to implement that kind of thing in the game. And using what the game already has, this seems to be like one of the only options they could have opted for, because you don't want players like leaving the challenge to be able to like change the decks in the middle of the series. That would be like ridiculous. So with what the game offers, I feel like the esports team went for like a pretty good approach when it comes down to this one deck format. Again, my only issue is that it's a bit too simple. I would have liked to see, let's say, like 10 cards instead of 5 cards, like the swap between the decks. That would leave you like more options and you can do like more things. But I feel like pre-built decks have to be the thing unless we get a way to change cards in between games. And that would be like a more complicated feature to add. What I'm for is being able to change the format if it doesn't work. Like, Conquest sucked and it was kept for like way too much time. Let's say this format is not good. If they are willing to change it in the future, and I think they are, that's perfect. Like, I'm fine playing it and experimenting for like whatever amount of time they think is a good amount of time. And then if it's not good and nobody likes it, then we can just like move on to other things. But I feel like the change being something fresh is good, and I like the format. I like the idea of the one deck format. I played and did really well in the tournament with like a one deck format. The difference was that the one deck format tournament had a 15 card sideboard, and you could sideboard endless amount of cards out of those 15 in between games and not tell your opponents, so it was a bit more complex than this. And I really enjoyed that one. Let's see if I will enjoy this one too in a tournament setting. I will definitely give it a fair try. And yeah, I'm pretty excited for the Specialist format. I think it's fine. Like, okay, I'm excited for like anything because I actually hated Conquest more than anything. If you are to like look at the format, it eliminates the queuing RNG in the actual set. You still have the queuing RNG in like what opponent you get. But with Conquest, you had queuing RNG on what lineup you get, and then let's say you get a good lineup, you can still get unlucky. Here, if you get a good opponent for your lineup, for your deck lineup, your one deck, then there's no queuing RNG. So you can get screwed, but you cannot get double screwed like in Conquest. So that still, I think, is going to be like a good thing. Like, you cannot have a format where like the better player like just always wins and always gets good matchups. The better player is the guy who makes the most out of the worst situations. Sometimes you are offered like bad matches, but you have to like do as much as you can with it. And I feel like this format allows for that. Also, best of 3 means like shorter sets, so people don't get bored watching it, because I saw like a lot of bad feedback of people saying like the games are gonna be like too boring because it's like the same deck. Everybody's gonna play the same deck. I love it when people like come to conclusions before like actually watching the format and giving it a shot. I feel like we should just give it a shot and see how it goes. But people are used to like the conquest thing, and they're used to last year standing having like 3 different or 4 different decks, which kind of like went kind of too far away from the ladder and how the ladder functions. And if you look at the ladder, it's not always like people playing the same deck. There are situations where people play the same deck, but most situations are like just having a meta game where people counter each other, and there's like 3 or more decks that just dominate and beat each other in rock paper scissors frequency. But the thing is, there's 2 things you can have. You can either have like the best deck just beats everything, or you can have a rock paper scissors situation. Either way, I feel like this format can work, and I'm willing to give it a fair try. So let's see how it goes. I will be present at the Masters tournament in Las Vegas, and other than that, we'll see. I'll try obviously to stream as much as I can, play as much as I can, get myself to like a very good playing level. I want to again reach close to my peak, or maybe even surpass my peak that I had in like the last years. Since I'm not very happy with how I performed last year, I really want to do better this year. I will try pretty hard for like the Vegas tournament, and hopefully I'll show good form there. So thank you very much for watching my short review of the system. I will probably make like another video or update once we get like more information on like how everything works. But until then, if you want to like try it out, make sure you sign up for the Master tournament.